Hello, gorgeous humans. Happy Monday. Welcome to the morning show. I am your host, Marley Ansell. And today we are diving into permission to change. How are you feeling? Happy Monday. We're here. We're making it. How was your weekend? So, over the weekend, and I should say this because I think a lot of times we kind of get caught up in our routines and we think, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that. So, periodically, recently, whenever on the weekends, if I don't feel like being on social media, showing up on my stories, or anything like that, recently I have given myself permission to not, to just not. So, today, we're diving into permission to change, how to stop holding yourself back. Right now, there's a big ending happening. There is a big ending happening currently. So, in our cosmos stars, we have Neptune, which is in the 29th degree of Pisces. So, for my astrology novices, my astrology novices, Neptune in the 29th degree of Pisces. 29th degree is the final degree of a sign, meaning it's about to transition over to a new energy. In the sign of Pisces, Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac. So we have Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees. There's a big ending happening, not just for me, not just for you, for everyone. So I want you to think about this in terms of what's been coming up for you, because not only is Neptune in the 29th degree in Pisces, it is making a sextile to Jupiter and Venus. Is it Venus? Jupiter and Venus are conjuncting also in the 29th degree. This is coming up this week alongside the full moon on the 23rd. Full moons are also known for endings, releasing, letting go. So we have a big ending is occurring. Now, what this means for you, I don't know. That's personal to you. But what I can tell you is that it's something that has been coming for a while. It's something to do with our ego attachments, something that's going to feel like a loss to the ego, meaning it's like something you thought that you had to hold on to, but you continuously are getting signs over and over and over again that you need to let it go. You need to let it go. You need to let it go. For some of you, it might be very obvious. For some of you, it might be a little bit of resistance in there. You're like, no, I know what it is, but I don't want to do it. So just be open, because this is how evolution is. And this ties perfectly into what we're talking about today, because this topic came to mind for me because recently, and by recent, I mean like in the last couple of years, my priorities for life have shifted a lot. Since I became a stepmom, now married, the whole of my life has a different set of values and priorities than it used to. And we need to talk about it because a lot of times we can get real attached to our past goals. Amen. Hello, everyone who's jumping on. Good morning. Good morning. We can get attached to the goals that we've had of the past. We can get attached to the business we had of the past. We can get attached to the relationship, the career, the way of being that we think we have to be. We can get attached and end up having more loyalty to our past self. And in doing so, we inevitably end up dishonoring our future. So there is a line that I've always said, and you can write it down if you would like. Do not be so loyal to your past self that you end up dishonoring your future. So we do this because our ego loves it some attachments. Amen. Our ego is like, no, this is who we are. This is what we do, right? And it starts to create this really beautiful box that starts looking a lot like a prison that you keep yourself in. And the thing is that we are so powerful, we can make it seem as though something else is keeping us stuck. We can make it seem as though something outside of us that we have no control over is the reason that we are exactly where we are and that we cannot move forward because this is happening. But we are the ones who are cultivating and curating our snow globe all the time. So let's get into it. Permission to change. So, like I said, over the years, My life has drastically changed, like drastically. Those of you who have been with me since the very beginning, you've watched this evolution that I've gone through, and you've watched how my life has literally 180, like the quantum leap of 180s. But for those of you who are new to my world, when I started showing up online back in 2018, I was just little single independent Marley, like doing my thing, wanted to change my life because I wanted to create a career that felt like it was fulfilling. I wanted to step into my soul's calling. I could feel that there was something more for me. So, Marley living on her own with a couple of roommates in the city was like, okay, I'm just going to start showing up online. And so I started on this mission to create a different level of life for myself. Little did I know how drastically my life would change, but this is how the universe works. When we start taking steps towards our calling. Now, when I say calling, this could be some big mission that you're going through, 100% it could, but it also could just be a feeling. And I think we really discount that sometimes. It could just be this feeling of like, there's something more for me. I know that there's something else. I can feel this thing in me. Like, all I want to do is this or that or whatever it is. Once you start answering that call in whatever way, like do what you can with what's right in front of you, life starts morphing and shape shifting in a way that will blow your mind. So within the span of like a year, as I started doing this in 2018, by 2019, my life had completely quantum leaped 180. Everything was different. When I say everything was different, everything was different. I met Robert. We ended up moving in together very, very quickly. I left my corporate job. I became a stepmom, came into two little girls who were, oh my God, you guys, they were 5 and 7 at the time. They're little preteens now. Anyway, so I became a stepmom. Sold everything, like literally sold all of my furniture and everything because Robert and I just decided we're going to get all new stuff together. I had traveled outside of the country for the first time in my life, not just to some like cute little Bahama trip. I traveled to Thailand and Bali. Like I went clear across to the other side of the world. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm seeing that that's no mistake. That is a huge, like, metaphorical, energetic, like you're 180ing your life. And so it was all really good things. Okay. I want to be clear on this. It was all really good things. And intellectually, I thought, amazing. No problem. We got this. But as life changes, our values change, our priorities change, the things that matter to us change, but we're not always present enough to be aware that we're still holding on to past habits, past things that we think matter, past values, past priorities, and it ends up keeping us stuck or putting us into this very tumultuous chapter of life. So, whenever life really starts shifting, like especially when life really starts shifting, the things that matter to you are going to change. So, not only do you have like life events that happen, but truly, like as you kind of graduate out of that maiden era of life and into the mother era of life, regardless if you have children, it's a level of maturity and energy that you step into. What matters to you starts to really shift drastically. So, in example, when in 2018, 2019, when it was just me and I was starting this business and it was like, let's go, I just want to create something amazing, I want to change my whole life. It didn't matter to me how much time I was putting into it. Do you know what I mean? It was like, it could be my whole life. I'm good with it. Like working on my business from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. was like, let's go. I loved it. But as my life shifted, and now I'm in this space of fully embracing the mother chapter of life. Now, again, I want to point out because some of you may or may not know this. In our feminine energy, women go through 3 graduation cycles. You have the maiden that goes into the mother, that goes into the crone. So if you think about it in terms of less of like, do I have children or not have children? Think of it more as like a graduation of maturity in your energy. It's like you shift from that like carefree, the world is whatever, and blah blah blah. Like you still get to have some of that, but then you don't prioritize peace as much. You don't prioritize space, time. You're just kind of like by the seat of your pants go. So I was graduating into this energy and I was still holding on to these old past values and priorities. Still holding on to the like, I work hard and I put all the energy into it, and this is how I do things. And it wasn't working anymore. So this is what I want you to take away from this. When you start changing on an internal level, because your life is evolving, you're graduating to a new level of life, the things that matter to you are drastically going to change. So the way that you ran your business before, it's not going to feel good anymore. You're going to want to change it. The way that you operated in your career, you may not want to do it anymore. You might have a drastic career shift where you're like, I don't want to do this. I want to do something entirely different. The way that you operate in your days, maybe you were someone who was like, I get up at 5 a.m. and I like put in the work on my workout or whatever. And now what you value is like some good, nourishing sleep. You value moving slow. You value just being present. So we go through these evolutions and our values change. We have to be aware of it. And it's so wild because it's like two different parts of you are operating. And truly it is the way it is. But it's like there's the part of you that knows and it's moving with the evolution. It's going. It's like, yes, this is our next level of life. We're going. We're going to prioritize this now. We're going to do this now. And then there's the part of you that's like, but what about this? And what about that? And we call this in my world the crazy chihuahua. Chaotic chihuahua is running around going like, freaking out, saying, but we have to stay like this. So we have to become aware of what are my values now? And the thing is that if we don't have awareness around it, what you inevitably end up doing is making yourself wrong. You're like, well, why don't I like showing up like that anymore? I used to love that. I was so good at that before. And now it just feels exhausting. Now it just feels like, no, it would take so much effort for me to do that. We have to start paying attention when things like that start happening, because that's not something wrong with you. Even though our ego mind likes to make it be like that, that's not something wrong with you. That's you evolving. That's you graduating to a new level of life. So when something used to work really, really well and you liked it and it worked with your lifestyle and it worked with who you were, and then suddenly it's not really working anymore. It's the exact same thing. Nothing has changed. It's not like you're doing it differently or anything. It's just not working anymore. It feels exhausting, or it feels that like almost like that overwhelm feeling where you're just like, oh my God, if I have to do that again, I am just going to scream. You know what I mean? When that starts occurring, I highly advise you to just take a step back and say, does that even matter to me anymore? Is that where I want to put my energy? What actually matters to me? So one of the biggest shifts in my life has been the things that matter to me now are so different than what mattered to me just a few years ago. Like now, some of the most important things to me is time, space, presence. I'm obsessed with creation right now. Like the things that matter to me now are drastically and wildly different than they were before. Now, I'll say this, a lot of healing took place in the last few years. A whole lot of healing. A whole lot of healing around doing for my worthiness, proving myself for validation, feeling as though I needed external things in order to feel worthy. A lot of healing has occurred, but that was with purpose. That's supposed to happen. And when we can kind of embrace that, like embrace the healing and embrace the shift that it brings, you're going to find yourself in a totally new existence of self. And this is where that ego death comes in. Now, I'm not really a huge fan of the term ego death because like the ego doesn't ever actually really die, like ego is part of the human experience. But what occurs is that we like take its leadership away. Does that make sense? So many of us identify with our ego, meaning we're identified with the identity in which people have told us we are. We identify with the things we do. We identify with how we have created life thus far versus the infinite light that's inside of you that is the truth of who you are. Does that make sense? So when you go through these huge shifts, you're gonna experience what we like to call an ego death. And ego deaths are not fun. Okay. There's no way to sugarcoat that. Like, they're not fun. And every one of you on here that has been through this experience, you know it. When you go through an ego death, it very much feels as though you're losing something. Do you know what I mean? It feels like, but if I let this go, it what do I do? Like, it feels like you're gonna die if you let go what you know soul is calling on you to let go of. But the thing about it is, and I'm going to put you at ease from the very beginning, the moment that you let it go, you know what it is. I can't tell you what it is. The moment that you let it go, a whole new world opens up to replace that old energy, a whole new chapter of life, a whole new set of opportunities, a whole new level of being opens up when you let it go. Now, the biggest ego death of all is letting go of that identity, that version of ourselves that we have used to basically cope and survive through life. Now, do not be misled into thinking that you don't have this. You do. Every single human builds their first identity essentially to survive because we're souls thrown into this human experience and we're like, what is this? Like, shock to the system. What is this? And so most of the things that we develop from childhood on are coping mechanisms, they're survival mechanisms. It's fine, don't beat yourself up, there's nothing wrong with it, we all do it. But there is a moment, especially when you start embarking on this spiritual journey of life, the spiritual experience, then you start to face the parts of yourself that you took on just to cope, just to get through life, just to armor up, just to survive. And in that moment, when you start being called to let that stuff go, it can feel incredibly scary. It truly, truly can. But as you do it, what you're actually doing is becoming more you. You're getting closer to the truth of who you are, which is the higher self version of you. The higher self version of you, I'm going to tell you right now, does not get confused. Okay. She doesn't second guess. She doesn't go, oh, but what if we do that? We might get it wrong. She doesn't go, well, I wonder what so and so thinks about me if I do that. She doesn't go, oh my gosh, if we don't do this, we won't be valid anymore. Like, the higher self version of you knows who she is. And every time that you delayer, take it off. One of those coping mechanisms, one of those pieces of armor, one of those pieces of the survival kit that you've had, you are getting closer and closer to her. So the only reason that we really start to shy away from change, which is essentially letting go to make room for something new, is that we've been relying on the external for our security. Now, I know that just hits for so many people because we all do it. We rely on external factors in order to feel safe, in order to feel secure. We rely on that corporate paycheck so that I can feel secure in my finances. We rely on our partner acting, being, doing a certain way so that I can feel good about myself, so that I can feel secure and loved. We rely on our friends to be a certain way so that I can feel valid and worthy. We rely on external circumstances in order to feel secure and safe. And it is the only reason, like, write it down. It's the only reason that we shy away from change, because we fear if this aspect of my life changes, then who am I? Then what do I do? It feels like instability. But the thing is that if you are going to step into more of who you are, you have to let go of who you are not. And that's going to create instability. Amen. And if you don't do it, I'm just going to asterisk this. If you don't do it, life will force you to do it. Like, just heads up, flashing headline, like go ahead and know that that's what's coming. If you do not actively do this work, life will force you into it. And the thing is that you might have it happen like I had it happen. Life 180 quantum leaped for the better and had me face myself and let go of my ego attachments. So it's not always like something bad has to happen. In truth, nothing is bad. It's not like, oh, we have to face some insufferable situation, although that happens. Sometimes you end up coming into more expanded, better than you ever could have imagined life being. And then you get to see all those little attachments that you've held on to. Either way, it's a difficult journey when you're attached because we find safety in the things outside of us. So the cure, the solution, what we have to start doing is building that safety inside of ourselves. You have to find safety within just who you are. You have to start building this trust relationship with yourself. You have to start saying it, and you can start, like literally start by just saying these words. A massive bird that just flew by. No matter what situation I step into, I know I am someone who can handle it. I know I have the capability to figure it out. I know who I am. And as I step into whatever circumstances in front of me, whatever situation, I know that I will approach it from a place of love, from a place of groundedness, from a place of ABC, like list out the attributes, the values that you have curated slash want to curate inside yourself. So we all have different energies that really, really appeal to us, you know? So for me, the things that really appeal to me, grace, grounded, power. Those things just speak to my soul. We all have something like that. You know what I mean? Like for you, it might be like from love, kindness, open heart, um, maybe even something like fierceness, you know, like no matter what, I'm going to step into it with a fierceness behind me. You start to build these attributes of yourself, and that creates safety from within. So let's think about it in a very practical term. You know, if you are relying on a corporate paycheck from a job that maybe you don't want to be in, slash, you have this idea for a business, for something beautiful that you want to create, but you're afraid to not have that steady paycheck. In that situation, what you want to start cultivating within yourself is I am someone who. I don't need to rely on a company outside of me to ensure that my bills are paid. I'm someone who always ensures that I'm in a beautiful place in life. I am someone who always ensures that I will figure out the money situation. I will make smart decisions. I'm not going to just put myself out on a ledge. I trust myself. I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to do it in the way that works for me. Do you see how that's so different? That's so different than like, you know, so and so on the internet told me I need to quit my job or I'm not all in. And then you quit your job and you've jumped off the side of the mountain. You don't have a parachute. And now you're like, shit. Like, you know what I mean? That's putting your power in someone else's voice when that wasn't the right thing for you. You've got to do the thing that's right for you. And that's you building a trust relationship with yourself. And the beautiful thing about this is that as you build a trust relationship with yourself, you are building a trust relationship with the divine. You're building a trust relationship with life. You are building trust everywhere because you are the center of your snow globe. You are God's source in human form. So as you start to build and cultivate these things, you build this like solidifying, like I always picture like the oak tree, you know what I mean? Like boom, like you are so solid in who you are. And this is not a willpower thing. You guys know this, right? This is a like, I build this level of trust with me thing. As you build that within yourself, one, life might like come in and sway you a little bit, but you know who you are. So it's not going to take you down. And then two, life's going to start bending to you because you are establishing that very powerful energy of self. Now, again, I want to tell you, like, this is not an ego thing. This is a like closer and closer and closer to your higher self thing. So, as we do this, what you care about, what you want to do, how you feel, how you see yourself, it's all going to change. And if you're someone like me, where you're building this online thing, a lot of times we get super fearful about making a change, right? Now, I'll say this, like I've not ever had like a real big fear about like I know I've talked with many clients over the years that are afraid to pivot, like pivot in your business, pivot what you're doing. I don't have a huge fear around that, but I've talked with a lot of people that do. And the thing that I always come back to when it comes to change, if you're worried about people, people adapt really quickly, like really quickly. And even more quickly if you are pivoting into something that's more authentic for you. We love authenticity. That's a topic for another day, but authenticity is an energy that just resonates. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Like you could be talking about like carburetors and I don't care about carburetors. I don't know the first thing about it. But if it's you and it's something you love and it lights you up when you speak about it, that authentic energy is so magnetic. We love authenticity. So especially if you're pivoting you're out of an old ego death, you're pivoting into more authentic truth, you're changing what actually matters to you, and you're stepping more into those priorities, that's gonna be so supported energetically by the universe and also the people around you. They're gonna adapt to you so quickly because they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, I don't know what she did, but I love her now. Like, I love her now. She's just, like, doing this thing. I don't even know what it is, but I wanna be around it," because that energy is so good. Like, we love, 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 love that. So don't be afraid to make a shift or to make a change because when you do, everything is going to rearrange itself in order to support that change. So, back to full circle at the beginning of this episode. As I started to change what mattered to me, I felt the parts of me go, but like, oh my God, are you allowed to do that? Like, are you allowed to do that? You can do that? Like back in 2019, I think I've told you guys this before, like I would be on client calls all day, all day. I was good with it, but I'll tell you this much after about 6 to 8 months of doing it, I was exhausted, like exhausted. And when I stopped taking private clients for a while, there was a part of me that's like, can I do this? Am I allowed to do this? And we start to really hit that part of ourselves that feels like we need permission from an outside source to do the thing that's right for us. Amen. And so, entitling this episode Permission to Change, if you needed permission today, if you've been asking the Holy Grail, God, give me a sign, what do I do? Let this episode be your sign. Permission to change, especially if you are pivoting into more of yourself. Amen. Like permission to change. And what we get fearful about is if we stop doing the thing that we've been doing forever, that's not really working anymore, we don't really like it anymore, we feel as though we're losing something and not gaining something. And the only reason that we feel that is because we're aware of what we're losing and we are not yet aware of what we are gaining. But we have to leave that space for grace. We've got to open that up because that's where the magic is. When you could change your whole life for the better simply by doing an audit of your life and going, I don't like that anymore. I don't like that anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. Nope. I'm done with that. Nope. That doesn't feel good. Boom. Just cut stuff out. Because in our universe, nature abhors a vacuum. A void will always be filled, and it will be filled with something better. It's the universal way because everything in this universe is forward growth expansion. It's always about what's next. It's always about what's better, like expand, let's go, higher energy. the whole point. So if you just cut stuff out that is not for you anymore, you're going to start to see things lightning change. Now, it's going to hit you though if you're attached to it, and you've got to be real conscious of that. Like, it is safe to let go of what no longer serves me. Amen. It is safe for me to move into a different, better energy, even if I don't know what it is. It's safe for me to do that. Now, trust me when I say I know that this is easier said than done. And obviously, as you can imagine, there's been some things for me that are top of mind that I know I'm done with. I know I'm done with. And I've got to like let it go. And what's so funny, and we should talk about this before we wrap, I want to let it go. I want, and there's things I want to let go. And everything in me is like, yeah, good, done, get rid of it. Like, done, move it out, right? And there's still a part of me that's attached to it. There's still a part of me that's attached to it. So I say that because I want you to know it's perfectly human. It's perfectly human to have attachments. It's perfectly human to be like, well, I don't know. Like, what do I do? If I let it go, then what? It's okay. But this is how we start to really build that trust with ourselves. Because if we hold on to things that are no longer serving us, that are no longer in alignment with who we are becoming, note that, no longer in alignment with who we are becoming, not who we are becoming. The more I let that go, the deeper bond I build with myself. You feel me on that? The more you start to bring in that future level of you. But I got to be willing to let go of what was in order to fully step into who I'm becoming, to what's meant to be for me in the future. So permission to change. Amen. Permission to change. I want everyone to do a full audit of your life. Don't go pruning so much that you die, okay? But what I'm saying is really take a look at it, assess it. If there's something in your life that you don't want to do anymore, you don't like it, it doesn't serve you in the way that it used to serve you, which by the way, if it's not serving you, it's not serving others, okay? I know for my people pleasers out there, we can feel like sacrificing ourselves is the way to go, but what you're doing is a disservice to everyone because nobody's getting the best version of you if you're sacrificing yourself. Amen. So just do an audit of your life. Like, what do I no longer want to be a part of anymore? What am I forcing myself to do, maybe even on a daily basis, that is like, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. Cut it out. Cut it out, slash, start to rearrange it so that you can have it be different. I say that because if you don't like your job, if you're in a position to leave the job, leave the job. But don't throw yourself off of a cliff with no parachute, leaving your job, and then wonder how you're going to pay your bills. Start formulating an exit plan. You feel me on that? Start to maneuver something. Make it fun. Make it a game. Like this whole game of life is supposed to be one big adventure after the other. Healing, yes. Emotions, yes. Right? We have it all, but it's supposed to be a game. So make it your game. What's my exit plan? What can I start inviting in to manifest? Like start playing with the manifestation energy. What can I start inviting in to manifest? What can I start to sever off or rearrange and change my definition and my perception of? Just changing your definition of something will start to morph and change what it is. Play with it. Amen. And if you haven't, go and watch the manifestation video on YouTube. It's entitled Exactly How to Manifest, No More Second Guessing. Go watch that video because it's going to teach you exactly what to do, how to manifest in your life. You're doing it all the time anyway, but it's going to simplify it for you so that you can do it intentionally. So that video is on YouTube, Exactly How to Manifest, No More Second Guessing. Okay. All right, my loves, we've done it with a potent Monday. Let's go. This episode will likely also go on the podcast. This is a message that really needs to get out to the world. Amen. And in final notes, so starting next week, the morning show is going to go to Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're going to a slimmer schedule because I have things to do. And one of my top priorities is space and time. But I love being with you guys. And this is my give back to you. I want you guys to show up and take in all the goods that you can take in. In other news, we're doing 6 workshops over the course of the next 6 months. So if there's an area of life that you're really focused on right now, I guarantee you I've got a workshop on it. So over the next 6 months, what we're going to be looking at is transmuting your relationship to each area of life. So we have a money workshop, which is going to be all about your relationship to money and your identity with money. In these workshops, what we're going to be doing is uprooting the past. So, really looking at where did my original definition of money come from? And then we're going to be transmuting it in the present, which allows you to shift your future with it. So, these are 3-day workshops. We're doing a money one, we're doing a career one, career and success. We're doing a body and health one. We are doing a family one. We're doing a one that's all about you and your relationship to yourself, your confidence, your power, your personal trust with you. Each workshop is only about 200 bucks, or you can come into all of them and do all of these workshops with me over the next 6 months. You can find all of the information in the link in my bio, or if you're on YouTube, you can find it in the show notes below. But just choose whatever workshop really speaks to you right now. And in that, you're going to get a huge, potent level of work, like a potent level of shifting and transformation for just like 200 bucks. And we're going to do the work over 3 days' time together. And you'll get the replays so that you can rewatch it, do it again at a different time, whatever it is that you need to do. Okay. I love you guys so much. This is our final week of being live every single day for the morning show. Again, next week will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if the show resonated with you today, please share the show. Share it so that we can expand our impact. We can grow the show. We can get this message out to more people. And I will see you guys here tomorrow for another episode of The Morning Show. Goodbye, my loves. Goodbye.